You're a failure.
And that's okay. Hi, I'm Dan,
And I'm Alicia.
and
And we're
we're
failures
failures
too.
too. We take a walk back through people's failures and relive the mistakes they made so we all can have more clarity in how to be a better human.
In this episode, our guest shares ways that he reframes failures, and as a result, he's created a life of international travel and unbelievable opportunity. One way includes telling strangers, I love you, and this is not a joke. By adopting his strategies, we can also open up ourselves to unexpected opportunities, experiences, and outcomes. Dean Kutchell is an ambassador, entrepreneur, and thought leader in the digital nomad space. He is the founder of a number of ventures and communities, speaker, and mentor. Dean has traveled to more than 100 countries, met thousands of amazing friends, and inspired people all across the globe to say, yes, go explore. In our conversation with Dean, he shares his positive relationship with failure. Dean's international wanderlust, along with his willingness to say yes, results in every failure that comes across his path as an opportunity. Welcome to the 2020 Perspective, Dean Kutchell.
I don't have a lot of time to think during the day, so I put myself 30 minutes to think before the podcast today. And I started to think what kind of failures I had, like, because I don't see anything as a failure anymore, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, digging failures from my past, from my present, and there's like, obviously breakups and loss and jobs that I lost. Then I said, wait, like, let's define what a failure for me means. And it was a failure is something that if I had the second chance to do it on correct course, I would do something differently. And there are very little moments in my life where I go back now and I would say, oh, I would do it differently. No, I would probably do the exact same thing, knowing where I'm at right now, living the life I live right now, and being at the place and time and the moment and the happiness level. So it's hard for me to define anything as a failure. Maybe that basketball match I lost when I was 16, which was like a championship game, and I would probably should have passed the ball. So,
Well, what helped you get to this place where you are so embracing a failure? I mean, what either did something change from when you said these aren't failures anymore, they're avenues to greater happiness, or is this just something that you've had since you were a kid?
what changed my mindset, I think, was the last 8 years. I've been traveling around the world nonstop, living off a carry-on, traveled to more than 100 countries, and during this amazing journey, I met thousands, 10 thousands of people, like even probably more. And I heard so many different stories, and those stories has failures. Each person has his own failure, and then it can't be that everyone fails so much. Maybe it's just not the right way to call it. These are just events, just things that happen to you. And we as society put this label on it. Oh, this is a failure because it's not the expected outcome, right? But sometimes an unexpected outcome can be a fun event or something very memorable or life-changing in a good way. So if it didn't work the way I wanted it, is a failure. I meet people, I go to a coffee shop to work, I might end up meeting the love of my life. Okay, it's not an expected outcome from that work session. But yeah, I mean, I made choices, career choices, I made life choices. I still question sometimes, being almost 40, and still traveling the world like a young backpacker. Today, I believe in something totally different in terms of like how to fail. I believe that people should fail fast and fail often. So failure for me now is a way to eliminate what's wrong and what's right. So yeah, we can go back to the dating. You can't find the love of your life on the first date, so you have to fail a lot of times. And if you want to find it quick, you need to fail fast as well. I do believe that you also need to put some effort into this before you give up and walk away. But yes, I mean, if you fail once and you give up, that's it. Then you fail. If you invested in the stock market and lost money, and I was like, okay, I'm never gonna win money or earn money again on the stock market, that's the failure. Giving up is the real failure. Um, and there's so many times, going back into my career, I lost the job and then I found another one, and I thought, oh, this is the job of my life. This is the best. And then a year after, like, good morning, Dean. You no longer work here. And for like 15 minutes there, I cried. It's like, wow, like the world just slapped me. Life just showed me a dark side of it, and it's the worst thing that can happen to me. And then like 15 minutes later, I said, like, no, like, being let go of that company is not them closing the door on my career or life or anything like that. That actually them opening the door for me and say, hey, Dean, you were locked in this small room of this single corporate doing this single job. And now we open the door and there is a world of opportunities waiting for you on LinkedIn and through your network and friends. Go do whatever you want. And I was bound to the 9 to 5 until they let me go. And then I said, okay, now I'm going to try something else. And this is how I ended up being a digital nomad and this remote professional traveling the world now.
Can you crack open that 15-minute transition period? Like, how do you go from I just got let go, life is over, to no, life just opened up? Like how did that happen? Like, how do you
So
like process
quickly.
that? Yeah.
I think it's looking in a very clear eyes and view of what's happening, and also almost like an outer body experience, not from the emotional place I am at the moment, but to look at this really in a rational way. You will let go. It's one job. There are millions of jobs out there, million other careers you can do. Look around you, my friends who are not like, well, not my colleagues, but my friends, life friends, they're not homeless. They're not jobless. That we grew up in the same school, we grew up in the same neighborhood. I'll find something to do. And I know myself, I'm driven, I have different talents, different things I like to do. So it's like a breakup, like 20 years ago, I cried for 3 months over a heartbreak. And now it's like, so lucky that we're not together. So it's very difficult to see it when you're in the moment. So really stepping out from these emotions and thinking about it rationally. It also happens to me. I use the same concept when I need to make a decision. So it happened to me that I decided to leave an organization that I was working with, and it was a big career change. That was probably one of the best careers any person can wish for. Stable, respectful, good payout. Any friend I ask for advice, any family member I share the story, they said, like, you should never leave this job. This is like you're set for life, and very prestigious organization working for the government. But I knew why I wanted to leave this place, and a lot of people started to put pressure on me, including friends, family, colleagues, my top managers. They're like, Dean, you're a superstar. Dean, you're going to be the Superman here. You're a superhero. You're going to lead this organization one day.
Mm-hmm.
And it touches you. And all of a sudden, you're trying to make a rational decision, but your emotions control you. So what I do is like, okay, let's go back to 3-4 months ago when I was in a clear state of mind, no emotions swaying me left and right. Why did I make this decision? And this is why I'm going to fall. So I just don't take decisions when I'm super emotional, and I can get emotional.
So taking a step back and separating your thoughts from the emotions that you're feeling in order to move forward is what you're doing.
Yes. I'm trying to I do a lot with my emotions, and I really follow my heart and guts. But when you need to make this last second decision, and it's money time, like, okay, there was this moment that I took the decision based on a lot of Excel tables and
Mm-hmm.
rational decision making, and this is what I'm going to stick with. Going back, I think before the show we talked about how I got mugged in Sarajevo, in Bosnia, and beautiful country, amazing people, beautiful day, and I do a walking tour, and at the end of the tour, I decided I want to go to visit the Olympic Park in Sarajevo.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a famous landmark. And I asked the tour guide how to go there. And she tells me very clearly, Dean, don't go there. You'll get mugged.
Okay, so
This is
you
an
ignored this
example.
advice, I feel like.
Yes. Always follow the locals.
Yeah.
And you know what happened next? Guess what? So, yeah, it was like knives and a little bit of a fight that I had to put up. But eventually, between life and camera, I chose my life. But this is sort of a failure and I still fail at this today, like not taking. It's it's easier for me to trust my guts than trust others' advice, and I think it's
Mm,
something very difficult for many people to follow this advice, someone else's advice rather than
yeah.
own feeling. Yeah.
It's hard here because I totally relate to you on like going with your gut because I do believe that your gut instinct is that subconscious leading you to what's the best decision for you. But it sounds like in your case, like with getting robbed, you listen to your you didn't listen to your advice, you listened to your gut because you wanted to go. But then talking about your job, your previous job, where your friends and family were telling you you should stay, you're set for life, you did listen to your gut and you left. And was it the right choice in that at that time?
Right now, clearly yes. I mean, I'm living epic life that I made for myself.
Yeah.
I'm a result of every person I've met in my life. I was born dumb, like nothing. It's baby, um,
Yeah.
zero knowledge, and everything I know about life, everything I do is just something that someone else did before me. Um, Probably the strongest message for me is really to trust my gut, because in the end it works. I mean, looking back on Sarajevo, yes, I rather not get robbed, but it's an experience, and it's the same thing as my job. And I lost my job. I got robbed. I went to the police station, filed a report, and whatever I had to do. And afterwards, I went to eat ice cream exactly as I planned to do before I got robbed. Life goes on. It happened. It's history. And generally in life, I mean, one of the best advice I can share with people is anything which is out of my or your control, like I don't waste a second on it.
That is such a cool perspective. And I think it sounds like as someone who is a digital nomad who hangs out with other digital nomads, there's this kind of ethos, this understanding that life will continually go on and that you'll overcome a lot of kind of barriers and hardships. So, what have you found in the communities that you've been in, especially with other digital nomads? How have people developed this resilience to failure? How have they developed this appreciation that life will go on? You said you spoke to lots of people. I'm curious, like, do they have a similar type of experience? Do they go through this transformation? Like, what's the trend in that group?
I think for digital nomads, we make choices that are a little bit different to most people. We are still a minority in this world as a choice of a lifestyle, and it pushes us to think out of the box. It pushes us out of our comfort zone. You every couple of weeks you'll find yourself in a different country and with a different language, the different set of rules and cultures and traditions, expectations, and it's not always exciting. Sometimes you need to learn how to work around it, and sometimes it won't work with your system of beliefs. It makes people more agile, more accepting, right? So I,
Mm-hmm.
coming from Israel, this is where I'm from originally, a country with a 70 years of conflict, if not 3,000 years of conflict. I was born and raised on a certain narrative and a story, and a history, and then you go out and you hear different stories and say, wait, this is totally different than what I think or believe. So um, it pushes you to think different, and you become, I think, more open to other ideas. Okay, and this
Mm-hmm.
is also, I mentioned earlier, like why a failure, because I heard so many other failures, and what for me was success for other was a failure all of a sudden. So wait, what is what? So yeah, definitely being a digital nomad and not knowing where you sleep next week, or who you'll be your friends, and you need to start talking to people. I was not always an extrovert. I was super afraid of reaching out to people in bars, restaurants, airplanes, whatever. Like I wouldn't talk to anyone. Now I'm this weird guy that give you a handshake when you board the airplane, like I'm the steward. uh, Advice for life: be the first to say hi. You sit next to someone on the train, if you don't say hi first and then don't say hi, this is it. Like it's gonna be 2 hours of train ride in a very awkward silence. So
Yeah, I
be the first to
agree.
say hi. Yes.
First to say.
To continue on this point, this journey taught me a very important lesson, that I'm very, very, very lucky. And you are, and every person who listens to this show is very lucky, because I traveled to the richest places on earth, like Monaco and Singapore and Dubai. I've been to some of the poorest areas in this world, if it's in Africa or in Central America and Asia. And what I found out, that no matter if I meet the richest person in Monaco or poorest guy in Nicaragua, they all complain about their politics, about the cost of living, and it's the
Mhm.
same conversation, just in different language. And so on one hand, we are very much the same, but then we are very lucky because we have mobile phones and internet access and hot water and
Mhm.
computers, and we listen to podcasts. What for us seems like normal, but for a lot of people on this world, it's not something accessible. And
Yeah.
this also made me a little bit, when it comes to failure, maybe I fail, but I can't complain about the type of failures that, losing a very expensive camera in Sarajevo could probably feed some family for a year or two in that country. So it puts everything in such different perspective. People don't understand how lucky they are. People
Mhm.
has a 2 years old iPhone, and they feel that they're behind on society. Well, come with me to Africa.
Traveling has given you this wide perspective, and I would totally agree with you. I mean, I grew up in a small town in Louisiana and was fortunate enough to want to travel and did, and so it totally broadened my horizons and my perspective. And in some ways it's almost hard for me to go home now and sit around the dinner table with my family who's never left our small town, and we talk about a topic and their view is so one-sided, and it's hard. It's like you can have your opinion, but you should at least acknowledge that there is another perspective and be respectful that it exists. And so, how do people find this alternative perspective without traveling, without physically, having that global, cultural access that you, and in some ways, like a little bit compared to you, have gotten? Like, how do people do that? How do they get that other perspective?
I truly think that the internet has so many good sides to it, and I'm thankful for being born to this era where everything is connected and we're able to have this conversation sitting in two different places on Earth. I learn a lot from listening to podcasts. Like I seriously listen to podcasts when I shower. I have like a waterproof speaker. When I commute, when I travel, when I go to sleep, I listen to something. When I run, I go to the gym not because I need to train. I go to the gym because I have a 40 minutes podcast episode to listen to. That's my
Mm-hmm.
motivation, and I learned so much. And there's such diverse topics. And I would listen to stories from all over the world. If I can do name dropping here, I love to listen to The Moth.
Mm-hmm.
It's storytelling, short storytelling from all over the world, told by everyday people like me and you, and it's amazing. It gives you this perspective. You learn what it's like to grow up in Jamaica or to go to school in Zambia, and it's that, and also real life meetup. The U.S. It's a large country. Um, you don't need to have passport to see beautiful landscapes or to go far away to meet people from different cultures. You go Florida, you'll meet a lot of Latin culture, which is beautiful. You can go to places like New York or San Francisco. It's super diverse. You'll meet people from all over. You listen to 10 different languages in the same bar. Um, and meetups. I go meetups, language exchange, or just backpackers. Try to be a tourist in your own town, right?
Mm,
You might not
okay.
find the same number of tourists in every town in the States, but in the big ones, there's always those meetups, and go there as a tourist. It, do the free walking tour in your own city. You'll discover new things about your town you won't believe.
Oh my goodness, I love that. I love that.
I don't know how many tourists we have coming to Shreveport, Louisiana, but y'all can come on and we'll have a good time. What I hear you say is to get out of your comfort zone. Even to someone who maybe has never left their home, to do something small, like you're saying, be a tourist in your own town, to explore, an area of town that they've never been to, but to get out of their comfort zone, which we've talked about on our show before with lots of other people, is a way to help them to get that lens that's different from the current lens that they see through, to do
I'll
something.
challenge the listeners to two actions. One is to say, I love you to a complete stranger.
Ooh.
Oh
Okay.
my gosh.
I would sit in a restaurant, or I'll just go to the 7-Eleven, I'll buy whatever I buy. And instead of saying thank you at the end, whether it's a guy or a girl, I will tell them, I love you. And just it, the surprise it puts them in, and you make their day. This is a story they're going to go home with.
So
And,
good.
you know, it's such a small gesture, and everyone wants to feel loved. So try this, and then um, to say yes. Say yes is my biggest motto and mantra in life. I say yes to anything and everything, right? From going to a flamenco show to trying magic mushrooms to jumping off an airplane with a parachute, to traveling the world, and yes to go to a movie. And it's the small things, because in life we are conditioned to say no first, or to ask a lot of questions like, hey Dean, do you want to come on our podcast? I didn't ask you, hey, how many listeners you have, how much time, how much it costs, like no questions, like yes.
This is true. I want to say he just said yes. He just said yes. just
I first I by saying yes, I'm taking the opportunity to my hands. Now I might ask questions, and let's coordinate the time and what we'll talk about. But this is why I travel solo, because I wanted to travel with my best friend, and I said, hey, let's go to watch a soccer game in Barcelona next week. And then instead of like, yeah, let's do it, it's like, oh wait, how much it's gonna cost, and what's the weather, and where are we going to stay, and are we gonna get robbed, and a million questions and concerns, and how are we gonna get from the airport to the, and it's like, wow. And by that time, it's like, okay, like I cannot wait. I'm just gonna say yes and go for it. And 8 years later, I'm still traveling the world.
Mhm.
But yes, only brought me good things to my life. Every time someone tell me, "Hey, Dean, there is this travelers meetup. It's tonight, 11 p.m." It's the easiest thing to say. Oh, I just got back home. I'm tired. Like, never mind. And every time I say yes, when I come back home, I on my way home, I always have the same thoughts like, "Thank you, God, for pushing me to say yes, because I met amazing people, inspiring stories. I learned something. I met friends for life." Um, so yeah, give yourself a week of just yes, and you'll be hooked for life.
Mhm.
That's a hell of a drug. Yes. I am really one inspired. I hope other people are inspired too, but by the kind of the fearlessness that you're exhibiting, and that you've basically created your own code of ethics for yourself, is say yes, love unashamed, like just toss out love. And I'm curious, for people who may not have that same level of confidence, even to just say "I love you" to a stranger. I mean, what are some steps or things that you'd recommend for someone to kind of self-talk themselves into saying yes, or self-talk themselves into taking that next opportunity and changing and doing something different?
Ask yourself, what are you afraid of? Saying I love you to a stranger, are you afraid of yourself saying it, or are you afraid of the reaction? What are you afraid of? And for me, like taking chances with my career, for example, was very much associated with financial fear.
Mm-hmm.
I not having a job, not having the safety net for myself. So to build this confidence in my career, I saved money. I turned into minimalism. I stopped shopping for no reason, and I saved enough money to give me this become resilient to job loss or something like that. And all of a sudden, it helped me to change my mindset around losing my job. And then with talking to strangers, for example, it happened externally. I was sitting in a restaurant in Montenegro, and it was just me and another girl sitting in separate tables. And she looked at me, I look at her. She looked at me, I look at her for half an hour, and I say
Mm-hmm.
nothing,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and she says nothing. And I pay my bill, and I walk out. And as I walk out, she stopped me and she say, "Are you also traveling solo?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Join me for dessert." And we turned very good friends. We spent a few days traveling together, and we met another Chilean guy, and we are friends to today. And for me, it was a life lesson of like everyone want to have this communication. We're just afraid of being the first to talk.
Yeah.
So I understood what my fears are, and I dealt with them, and I
Mm.
tried to overcome. Now it's easy said than done, but with the financials, save a little money that makes you comfortable to take different steps and actions in life. Talking to people, well, you don't need to start with a complete stranger, but if you go to a house party when you know someone, then it's a little bit easier because you have some topic. We both know the
Mm-hmm.
host of the party.
Mhm.
Um, or if you work in the same workplace, you have some common ground. I also have a set of questions that I like
Ooh.
to ask people. I just, instead of being under this pressure of, oh my God, like what do I need to ask them, or how to start a conversation, I have this question like on an airplane. I told you like I would start talking to people in airports. So I also ask them, do you travel? Do you also travel solo? Or I would ask him, and then, are you also traveling for fun? Now, the most important piece here is the also. By telling them also, I giving them my answer. So it's like, hey, I'm sharing with you information about
Mm.
myself. Are you
Mm-hmm.
willing to share with me now? I make myself vulnerable first, and that helps to build trust. And it helped me.
It's good.
Like I don't share something super intimate at this very first interaction. So it made it easy for me having these key phrases, key questions, and I know that if they ask me, I have the answer ready.
That's good. Did you come up with that, the adding the also, because that's a game changer? Did you come up with that, or did you learn that from someone?
I think my English is a second language for me, but I came up with a lot of different stuff for English that I make up on the fly. But I think I understood it over time, and I really turned more and more and more vulnerable, and it helped me to build trust with people, and also exposing my story on podcasts and TV and everywhere I go now, and being on stages. I just realized that my story is not different than anybody else. It's just as unique, you can say, as
Mm-hmm.
anybody else's story. You could bring any person on your show, and they will have amazing stories just as mine, if not more. Any person. Every person is a story, and this is where I like to travel. So no, I think it's something that I've developed over time to understand what makes people more I feel more comfortable to share information.
I feel like I ask people a lot of questions because I'm just, naturally curious. But sometimes I think maybe it could come off as a little, I don't want to say intimidating, but um maybe like abrupt, like, oh gosh, firing all these questions and I'm an open book, so I'm happy to answer them. But maybe for other people, we need to ease into it. So
Absolutely, and it can be intimidating for sure. I also learned I don't fire all these questions. I am just trying with the soft questions, and if I see they
yeah.
don't want to talk, it's again. Sometimes I would start a conversation, and like 2 minutes into it, I would ask them, look, if you feel uncomfortable or you don't want to talk right now, just tell me it's okay. Like I'm looking to make friends, and people tell me, yeah, you know what, yeah, I don't really feel like talking right now. I'm sorry, and that's okay. It's
Mhm.
I'm okay with the nose as well. Like it's absolutely fine.
I would be okay with the nose. I'd
Yeah.
be like, but why don't you want to talk to me? I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Let's talk about it.
That's
Let's
where you
have
go home and you like, dear diary, and be
yeah.
like, I said hi to a stranger today. They said no thanks. What's going on in
So,
life?
I said I love you to a stranger and they threw something at me. Wait, I need to hear more about like when the first time you said this to someone, like I love you to a random stranger, what reaction did you get?
um, wow, I probably can't recall it. I tell I love you to so many people every day now, but I think it started with signing my credit card slip. You know, when you need to when you pay. Um, so in the States, we still need to sign this little piece of paper. And I would add a smiley face next to my signature. And
Mhm.
as I walk out of the store, I would look back and you see them like look at this thing and smile. And I say, oh, I have the power to make someone day slightly better.
Yeah.
And I kind of try to um, make it better. But it's probably me and a friend sitting in a restaurant talking about life, and me saying like, "What's the problem? Just tell them, you know. Like let me give you an example here.
Uh-huh.
Like I'll tell this person. And it's not always I love you back. It's sometimes like, okay, you weird, but that's fine. It's life. It's 1 second of life. No one.
Yeah.
It's we move on.
The
So
stakes are low. I really appreciate your way of framing things of the worst thing that can happen is it's a second in life and you move on. And the best thing that can happen, maybe you become new best friends. Who
Mhm.
knows? Like best case, worst case.
exactly that, and it's also this notion, and this is something I did learn from possibly a book or a podcast or a person I met along this beautiful journey, is that I already have the no. And we talk about failures. Sometimes I avoid the failures or seeing failure as such by understanding that if I don't ask and I don't try, then I failed, right? And we already have the no. If I want to get a raise in my job, I have two options: to go and ask for it or not ask for it. Now, if I don't ask for it, it just remain the same. And if
Mm-hmm.
I do ask for it, there is only one option for a change, that they will
Mhm.
give it to me. The other option is they will say no, that's not change, it just remain the same. So
Mhm.
by trying, by asking, we can only change for the yes.
Yeah.
I think I hope I said it in a way which makes sense for the listeners.
Yeah, no, I
It
think
can be
you did. It's
confusing.
basically like you don't get what you don't ask for. So if you don't put yourself out there and be vulnerable to ask for whatever it is, then the answer is automatically no. And so really you're with your two options. It's either let me ask and get a yes, or let me not ask and I know what my answer is and the outcome is no matter what. So
The outcome is already no. If
yeah,
you don't ask, you
yeah,
don't get the raise, right?
Mm-hmm.
So by
right.
asking, can only change,
Yeah.
right? And people always afraid of what if I fail? What if I get a no?
Yep.
What if I go ask this girl out and she tell me no? What if I send my resume and they will tell me no? No, and we are afraid of it. I stopped thinking about like this. I started to think about, what if she said yes? What if
Yes.
this job would say
Yes.
yes? What if this lottery ticket is the winning ticket?
Well,
Like, what if
yeah.
it will? What if it will work well? Lottery ticket is about everything. Quitting my job and deciding to try to travel the world with a backpack for 8 years. Not many people do it. Not many people visit 100 countries in their 30s. So you can say, oh, what are the odds? It's like winning the lottery. Well, I bought a ticket and I
Mhm.
won. So, and the chances are much, much higher when you want to do this. Then I do not support or try to promote the lottery or the other gambles. But
Yeah.
generally in life, like, we have so many chances to actually succeed, but we are slowed down or even stopped to a complete halt by the idea that we will fail. Not doesn't matter what the odds are. People are afraid of flying because they're afraid of an accident, but it's actually the safest mean of transportation. So it's the slight chance of no that stops us from doing great and amazing things for ourselves sometimes.
I love that imagery. I'm imagining everything in life is a series of lottery tickets, and all I have to do is say yes, and I could scratch off the lottery ticket, and I might have something amazing. And the odds are so much better than an actual lottery ticket. It's just like way better.
I learned from the yeses, and I had a lot of no's in my life. It was the elimination process. I found out what's not right for me, what I shouldn't do. I embrace everything that comes to me because, again, I'm not special. I get the
You're
same
special to
no's
me.
and
I
so
love you, man. I love you.
good. This therapy session is very successful. It works. Nah, I love you too.
Oh, thanks. Okay, I'm buoyed up. I feel great. Alicia, do you have any any other questions?
Just maybe what are some final thoughts that you would like to leave listeners about about failing or about anything that we talked about?
I probably fail every day. I just don't call it this way. It's like I probably we make so many decisions. What? I fail every day because every morning I wake up and say, "Oh, I should probably go to the gym this morning," and I don't. And every day I tell myself, lunch, salad, salad, salad. I put a background on my phone of a salad, and then I'll order pizza. So my diet is terrible. So I fail in a lot of small things and a lot of big things. And I'm not uh, financially free as I want. I don't have the relationship I want yet, but it doesn't stop me for continue and pushing forward and trying every day. And the most important, to enjoy the process. I don't think it wouldn't be the same if I suffered throughout it, right? So
Mhm.
um, I don't believe in staying in a bad place. If I lost my job, it doesn't mean I'm gonna go homeless or never have another job. It might actually be an opportunity to do something
Mm.
that I always wanted to do. And especially now we live in times that there are more jobs than ever. Um, it's amazing opportunities for so many people out there. We just need to open our eyes and try this. Um, unless you're trying to do something really crazy, like it's going to Mars or out of space, there's some risk associated with it. Most of other day-to-day things, billions have done it before. People afraid to travel because they say, "Oh, I'll go to country XYZ, and something bad will happen to me." No, nothing will happen to you. Like, open the newspaper for that XYZ country, you will see that everything's okay and no one got hurt yesterday. So it's this small fear that can cure our full potential.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mhm.
ask yourself, what is this fear? And learn to conquer it and learn to offer yourself the solutions. We talked about it a little bit. Um, but if I need to give one advice for life is really say yes. I go with it day and night. I wake up to this, I go to sleep to this because I'm single. So I'm just left with a say yes. And it brought me joy, amazing moments, memories and open opportunity for me. So say yes. That's my message to the world.
Wow. I enjoyed talking to him because it brought me back to the world that was exposed to me whenever I was traveling, and how much I learned and how much I failed, and that I got robbed before as well, and how that moment when I was robbed was not just like, oh darn, what an inconvenience, they stole my money and my friend's passport and my digital camera and all these memories. It wasn't just that. It was like I'm not going to give them any power, whoever it was that robbed me, but it was a moment for me to stop and ask myself, what am I doing? What is my goal? Why am I here? What's next? And so I'm glad that I got robbed, because it was like okay, slow your roll, check in with yourself. What do you want? Where are you going? What's next?
I love that. Well, one, I have not been robbed, so I haven't been part of the robbed club. I love what you're doing and what Dean was doing, which was reframing the experience from, oh, I lost stuff, to what is important to me now. And what am I going to do? How am I going to move forward? And I think that's so integral with failure, is that it's not stuff, it's not achievements, it's not promotions, it's not mountaintops, it's the experiences all together and the perspectives that these things give you. And I think that's so poetic with our podcast name being 2020 Perspective, is to realize that things being put into perspective is why we live. It's what we do. It's if we don't fail, then we aren't having ways to have new perspectives on things.
Mic drop on that. Heck yeah. Mic drop. That was awesome. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Some other things that I loved from our conversation with him were his like live by mantras. Maybe not mantras, but like actions. Say yes. To say yes to everything. I like to think that when I moved to Dallas, I became the yes gal, and I said, I'm going to move to this new town where I don't know a lot of people, I have a new job, I have like no community. I am going to expose myself to all the weird things that I'd rather not do. I'd rather just sit on my couch at home when I get, back home from work and I've had a long day. And instead, I'm going to choose to say yes and open myself up to unexpected opportunities, or not opportunities, but just experiences. And Dean lives by that. And it has led him to, as he says, meet thousands of people all around the world. And when he goes to a new place that's beautiful with, sparkly sand beaches and oldest churches in Europe and all these like really cool things, it's kind of like after a while that gets a little, not old, but it just, you become like immune to all that stuff. But it's the people that make that place. And he would only be able to meet those people if he continued to say yes to unexpected opportunities that come his way.
Oh yeah.
So I like
that. I mean, you go to a really nice beach. It's a beach, and eventually you'll see a bunch of beaches in your life. Is it the cool people that you meet at the beach that makes that beach unique? You only get to talk to that person if you go up to them and say, "I love you." Okay, maybe not that creepy of like, "Oh, hey, person on the beach, I love you. Let's talk." That's probably a bit aggressive, but
yeah, I don't know. I like that he is, at the end of the day, it's about being vulnerable and saying hi first. It's talking to people when you are truly a complete stranger. It's putting yourself in these vulnerable places or spaces. The I love you is like extreme vulnerability. I personally think it's going to take me a little while to like get to that, but I'm going to try, because I think Lars might be a little bit questionable. Like, why are you telling this random, like, man, who just served you your, like, lemonade that you love them. Like, that might be weird. But I think it's cool. It's cool that he's trying to put himself into situations where he is practicing extreme vulnerability, because that's what opens you up to other perspectives and experiences and those memorable stories that he can then go tell on a stage to inspire others.
Yeah. And if you can't stomach the extreme vulnerability, the mild vulnerability of saying also was that is absolutely a game changer. I agree with you. Just offering that little bit of knowledge about yourself inspires the reciprocity to engage into a conversation. And the worst thing is that someone says no, and you just kind of like move on in your life, and that's okay. But I love that of giving someone values, giving someone information, giving someone an opening, an opportunity. And maybe that's what people need in life, is that opportunity presented to them in such a way that is giving and vulnerable, but friendly and not too creepy. But it just really, I love that. And I'm totally going to be working with that. I'm going to be playing with that going forward.
Me too. The also piece is a game changer. It's so simple. And I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe I've done that, but I don't know if I've done it intentionally. And I think that just by offering that one word, it changes how you enter a conversation. It immediately just changes it.
Oh, yeah. And it opens up the grounds for connection. Because when you say also, you can show that you two have something in common, or that you have something to talk about in terms of a difference. And so like, oh, are you also a resident of this neighborhood? Oh, are you also a fan of pumpkin spice lattes? And that just like, if they say no and you say, all right, that's cool. That's for you, not for me. That's cool.
You're right. It opens up a common connection point or an opportunity to connect by saying, okay, well, I don't like pumpkin spice lattes, but you do. So like, let's talk about what else from, Starbucks we like.
Or your local coffee shop of choice.
I'm trying to get us some advertising.
Thanks to No BS Brass Band for the bangin' show music. Check them out at nobsbrass.com. And if you want to join any of our live shows, follow us on Facebook at the 2020 Perspective. That's 20/20 Perspective. As always, make sure to subscribe on your favorite podcast player so you can get the latest failures delivered right to your ears. And may your failures be spectacular.